Over the last 2 years, we've seen a doubling in terms of the labor force of the construction sector. And so for that estimate of just about close to 9,000 workers, we believe that that estimate will have to be further revised upwards. Because one of the things that we've done is to help to hold the projects that have been ongoing over the last 3 years in terms of that growth, to hold it at a steady pace. But of course, we are seeing that more and more projects continue to come on board. So we actually believe that this total of 53 may actually be just about 60,000 plus for the 5 sectors. So I want you to think about that 60,000 workers that will be needed over the next 5 years. But it also requires further changes, even in terms of some of our academic curriculum, reducing some of the length of time, for example, that we take to do some of the degrees. How can we incorporate work as well as training at the same time? So it will require adaptation as we move along. And then, of course, with any small labor pool, we have to think through mechanization. So we cannot continue to have some of our industries being heavily dependent on labor. How can we mechanize to take advantage, given the fact that we do have a very small labor force in country?
Really and truly, I think the question now that we have to answer is not only what the needs are, but this data is going to help us to understand how we need to refine our own offerings and to work with other institutions that offer the similar things to really make sure that we are actually able to deliver in those sectors, but other sectors that were not covered by your work. We're doing some work internally as well at the university in terms of including now in our exit surveys of our students, questions about if they're working, if they need a job, what kind of job, if they want a part-time job, and also taking the next step to include our alum, both in country and outside of Guyana. That data should be in a couple of weeks' time. So we'll also be able to see if we have people who want to transition from one job to the next, or how much scope there is for occasional work or project work or training up, upskilling, and those kinds of things.
What we have available is 2021 data from the Bureau of Statistics. They've estimated that we've got about 289,000 persons working in Guyana as of 2021, that they make up the labor force. And if you want to take a look at which sectors these persons are concentrated in, now you can look at the difference between 2020 and 2021. Now in 2020, about 27% were within those 5 sectors that we're looking at, while about 72% were in the other sectors. But if you look at the change between 2020 and 2021, you can see that that proportion has increased within those 5 sectors, so it moved up to 30%, while in the other sectors it actually decreased to about 69.9%. Now what that's suggesting, or what that data is telling us, is that there's a shift. There's a transition from the labor from the other sectors to these 5 sectors. But what the data is also telling us is that the number of persons working has actually decreased. Now, if you look at our labor force participation rate as of 2021, it's actually only 50%. That means, you've got 50% or just as many persons at home that could work, but are just not working.